Well, hey there, interwebs. Check out the new layout. So, it's 2025, and I think that we should look back on the past year and ruminate on the pop culture of that time period because 2024 was an interesting year. Personally, pretty good for me. Globally, anyway, one thing I definitely can't complain about is that they brought back the Dr. Pepper strawberries and cream. I love this stuff. I drink it like it's water. I have a problem. So this is a very unscripted, kind of awkward video, as you can tell. So since I was a film major and consider film to be my number one passion in life, let's start out with films. I'm going to talk about the top 5 films that I watched this year, and this is not going to be limited to just films from 2024, although that will be in there. This is just movies that I watched for the first time this year, and some of you are going to go, wait, you hadn't seen so-and-so until this year? This past year? Are you even a real film buff? The answer is no. I am a poser. I watched 81 movies this year for the first time. This was my favorite 10. Starting off with number 10, Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock. So I have a funny story about Jimmy Stewart. My friend Sarah Ezat, the fat culture critic, she has a new name now. My friend Sarah Ezat of the Fat Culture Critic asked me and another friend of ours to sit down and watch It's a Wonderful Life, which of course I've seen a million times. And we were talking about, as she said that she thought that Jimmy Stewart was quite handsome. And I said, he looks like a broomstick. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. However, I do think Jimmy Stewart is really fantastic in Rear Window. Also, my god, Grace Kelly's face card. I am now understanding why she was considered such a beauty queen. What's the opposite of a jump scare? She jump scared me when they first show her face with how beautiful she is. And also she's a great actress. I don't want to just focus on how pretty she is. She's a good actress too. But just Jesus Christ. My god. It was really weird as somebody who grew up watching the old Perry Mason show to see Raymond Burr playing a villain. But yeah, I think he did a really great job. So yeah, Rear Window, surprisingly, pretty good movie. Pretty good movie. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Hitchcock. That still goes to Psycho, but pretty good. All right, number 9, The Boondock Saints. So my mom this past year made me watch The Walking Dead, which introduced me to Norman Reedus. Great actor. Love Daryl from The Walking Dead. And he was in this movie. And as was one of my all-time faves, Willem Dafoe. He plays a sassy gay cop. There's a scene where he does drag and calls himself Mama. Really spoke to my heart. But yeah, it's just like a really good movie. It's like about these two idiot thugs who keep pulling off these crimes and succeeding out of sheer dumb luck. And Willem Dafoe is like a detective trying to like track them down, and he sees every crime scene. He's like, my god, I'm dealing with criminal masterminds. But yeah, like really A+ action. It's just a really entertaining movie. My number 8, and a lot of you are going to be like, why is it so low on the list? But you have to remember, this is number 8 out of 81 movies, so still pretty high. My number 8 is John Carpenter's The Thing. Yes, I finally watched it. I think I desensitized myself to violence and horror movies enough to where I could sit down and watch this movie. I am not at The Fly level yet, but I'm working up to it. I used to have such a thing about like body horror, and I think because I've watched so many Stuart Gordon films, I've kind of come around to it. But yeah, I don't need to tell you how great The Thing is because I'm sure you already know. It's a great movie. It is a quintessential horror film. The suspense and the paranoia that keeps the movie going. It's not even really about the monster. The monster is just a brainless alien. It's about the men in the movie and their unease throughout the whole film. Like, who is who can we trust? it's really, really good. I can definitely understand and see how John Carpenter was inspired to do his own take on the story. And he even had a nod to it in Halloween. So it's clear that this movie came from a place of passion and love, and you can really feel it when you watch it. And it also just gives you the willies. It gives you the creeps. So yeah. Again, surprisingly, John Carpenter's The Thing. Great movie. Number 7. This is a fairly new-ish movie. I think it came out in 2002. Obviously, it did not get a wide release in a lot of theaters, especially where I'm from, for obvious reasons. It's 2022's How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Now, this is a movie about a group of renegades who all have various reasons for wanting to get at this company that's building a pipeline on, like, Native American traditional land, and they all kind of, like, team up. This, it's really interesting, like, seeing, like, the different characters and their different motivations. Like, you know, there's some people who are, like, you know, they're just environmental activists, and then there's, like, one guy, he's, like, a good old country boy who owns farmland. Yeah, it's really great. It's got the girl from The Runaways in it. It's really good. The ending is super inspiring. Number 6, this is also an old-ish one. It's from, like, 2000. Remember the Titans. Again, you're going, how have you never seen Remember the Titans? I'm just not a sports person. Clearly. Look at me. Do I seem like a sports person to you? But I can appreciate a good movie, even if it's a sports movie. And this is an awesome movie, because it's not just about sports. If you've seen it, you know. It's about racism. Denzel Washington, I love to see him in anything. He's great. I have not seen Gladiator 2, by the way. Just putting it out there. The rest of the cast, really good. And yeah, it's a little bit cheeseball. It's a very 2000s way of looking at racism. Like, well, if the racial minorities are just, like, really superb and patient enough, the racist whites will come around. But this is based on a true story. So, you know, there's some, obviously Hollywood is never lets truth get in the way of a good story, but there is a seed of truth in this. So I can't fault it for that. But, like, in that vein of, like, kind of, like, you know, of movies about Black people being so incredible and amazing that they change the hearts of racists. It's one of the better films. It's not Green Book by any means. All right, so number 5, we have the original What Happened to Baby Jane. The reason I decided to finally sit down and watch this movie is because I really wanted to watch the Ryan Murphy limited series Feud. Simply because it had Alfred Molina in it. He plays, like, the guy who directed Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Also, it has Jessica Lange in it. She's great. I love her and everything. She's one of the things that makes American Horror Story actually worth watching. But yeah, Jessica Lange is one of my favorite actors, and she plays Joan Crawford in this. And Susan Sarandon plays Betty Davis, and they both do just fantastic jobs, both as the actresses they're playing and the characters that they're playing. But getting back to Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, the actual film, yeah, it's really fantastic. Feels like a Hitchcock film, even though it's not. The lighting is very, like, dramatic, kind of like German Impressionist style. Of course, the acting is phenomenal. You can feel the animosity between the characters and the actresses. It just lent itself really well. So yeah, if you're gonna watch an old black and white film from the 1960s, please make it Psycho. But then after that, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? But then after that, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Number 4. I can't believe it took me this long to watch this movie, but I finally saw Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And I'm not going to say it's my favorite Marilyn film. That title is still held by Some Like It Hot, but it is a close second. My God, the 2 leads in this movie are so fantastic. I have to applaud the brunette actress. Her name escapes me. I'm really sorry. Who plays off of Marilyn, because, I mean, it's really hard to not be overshadowed by Marilyn Monroe, but she really holds her own. I love how different the characters are, but, like, they still feel like like besties, like sisters almost. They have their own strengths. They don't overshadow each other. They play off of each other really well. And yeah, just the whole premise is just like really fun. It's like, yeah, we're gold diggers, and what about it? And I say good for them, because I support women's rights and women's wrongs. Okay, we're down to our final 3. So, number 3 is a queer classic that I cannot believe it took me this long to finally watch, but then again, every time I went looking for it, it was just, like, not on streaming, and I finally caught it, and it was June, and I was like, I need to watch gay things, so I finally sat down to watch To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, starring my beloved Patrick Swayze, R.I.P., also Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo. Just 3 fantastic actors. Now, nowadays, this kind of movie wouldn't fly, because we have essentially what is 3 cis men playing questionably 3 trans women. I don't know. I feel like Snipes and Leguizamo's character, they're actually just cis men, like, who are drag queens, whereas Swayze's character really is a trans woman. But the point is that, like, this movie would get a few eyebrows from progressives nowadays, like, I don't know about that. There should have been, like, actual trans women, or non-binary people at the very least. But like Rocky Horror Picture Show, you can't discount this movie. It is seminal queer cinema, and it is so good. I loved it so much. It is so sweet, and it manages to be funny, like road trip movies, which I'm not usually into road trip movies, because usually the premise is like 2 or 3 or 4 or how many people stuck together and making each other absolutely miserable, and it's just a practice in psychological horror, and not the fun kind of psychological horror, just the kind of psychological horror that makes me angry and upset in the same way that Home Alone makes me angry and upset on behalf of Kevin. But, like, no, it's like, even though these, like, 3 characters annoy each other and have mishaps, you can tell they're really having fun with each other. I don't know how the actors felt on set, but I feel like this was a fun set to be on. And my god, the friendship between Patrick Swayze and I think it's Stockard Channing's character was just so sweet. And in my heart of hearts, Stockard Channing figured out that she was a lesbian, and she and Patrick Swayze's character, like, got together and are old gay ladies now, together forever. What a great movie. So good. Number 2. This one was sort of a recommendation from a fellow YouTuber that I had never heard of, but I'm so glad I watched it. This was one of the funniest damn movies I've ever watched. But Black Dynamite, I sell drugs to the community. So Black Dynamite is a 2009 parody movie of 70s blaxploitation films, and it's very self-aware. Like, this movie knows exactly what it's doing, right down to the stylistic choices. I mean, there are like visible boom mics in some shots. Like, that's how much they are going for the bit. Like, every other line is like, jive turkey this and jive turkey that, which, if you know about the history of these types of movies, jive turkey, that's not real, like, African American slang. That was created by white people trying to write what they think black people spoke like in the 70s. So the fact that actual black filmmakers and black storytellers took that and kind of made it their own to kind of poke fun at it, it's just really great. This is exactly the kind of filmmaking I love to see. And also the action sequences are really good. The actor who plays the main character, Black Dynamite, he is a real-life martial artist, and you can tell he does all his own stunts. And his delivery is just spot on, for every line. I love it. It's I will forever be laughing about the scene where he's fighting, his arch nemesis, who turns out to be, like, a nation stereotype, and like a boomerang or something flies in through the window and hits him in the head, and he goes, "Ha ha! I threw that shit before it came in the room." I can't. This is the kind of film that Quentin Tarantino wishes he could make. So yeah, that's my number 2 film for this entire year. So what could possibly be my number 1? Well, if you've seen any video about any movie that has come out this year, it's probably no surprise that my number 1 movie of the year that I saw is also a 2024 movie, and that movie is I Saw the TV Glow. Oh my god. I don't even know how to put into words how incredible this film is. It's very artsy, so if you're not down with artsy films, I get how you might not like this one. My mom came in when I was watching like the second half of this movie, and she was like, "This movie's weird. I don't get it." And me being, a part of hello, hi, and not really cis, I was like, I get it. I completely get it. I can't say much about the plot of this movie because it's really big spoilers, but if you want to have your entire worldview shaken, go watch it. If you are the type of person who loves The Matrix, and especially like the trans allegory of The Matrix, you will love this movie. Also, it is just a beautifully shot movie. Like, you see the purple bisexual lighting I've got going on in my room. The whole movie looks like this, basically. So I Saw the TV Glow, my number 1 film that I saw in 2024, and it also came out in 2024, unlike most of these other movies. No, I have not seen The Substance yet, but I want to. I'm waiting till it's free on streaming. Also, I'm waiting for Stream to come out, because I love Jeffrey Combs, who I met this year. Look, drink it in, people. That's me with Herbert West himself. That is me with Wayoon, with Commander Shran. You can all eat my ass. This was the best $45 I ever spent. So that was the things I watched. But I don't just watch movies. I also occasionally like to read. I read 18 books this year. I'm going to talk about my favorite 5. And again, these are not books that came out this year, just books that I read this year, because some of them are really old, like almost 150 years old. So my number 5 that I want to talk about is this book, The Nightmare Before Christmas. And yes, this is a gay romantic comedy about the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween, and they're supposed to be rivals, but they really like each other. There's this whole marriage plot where the Prince of Christmas is engaged to the Princess of Easter, but then the Prince of Halloween comes in, and he's like, I'm supposed to get a bid for her hand, and nobody asks the Princess of Easter what the hell she wants because nobody gives a shit. But here's the thing, this is all like political theater, and neither Prince of Christmas nor Halloween actually wants the Princess of Easter. They want each other. They're in love. They are very flirty, like, from the beginning, and it's like, I'm not supposed to like you, but I really, really like you. And the Princess of Easter is like, y'all two are adorable. I'm living for it. But it's not just like a gay... Tabitha just bumped the damn camera thing. Thank you. Rude. She doesn't even pay rent, But yeah, this is more than just like a gay Hallmark movie type thing. Like, this is a lot deeper than I expected. I thought this was just gonna be like a fun little light read to do like in between heavier books, but like this has like political intrigue and family trauma. The villain is essentially Santa Claus. He's a terrible father. He just straight up sucks. So yeah, it's a really good book. If this is the kind of thing that interests you, I understand. Looking at the cover, this looks like it would just be like a light, fluffy, chick flicky novel. I understand, but believe me, it is so much more than the cover lets on. Literally do not judge this book by its cover. But also, it's really cute. It is really, really cute. I don't think I'm gonna read the sequel. I'm good with this as a standalone novel, but I did like this a lot. This was my number 5 book. So, taking a very hard left turn from what that was, is number 4 is The Hound of the Baskervilles. You might be surprised to learn that I, a self-proclaimed Sherlockian, had never actually read The Hound of the Baskervilles, which is like so classic. It's almost like if you've never read anything else Sherlock Holmes related, like you've read The Hound of the Baskervilles. Like that's the one thing that like everybody reads. It's like the most classic one. What's interesting about this one is that I'm not going to say that Sherlock Holmes isn't in it, because he is toward the beginning and toward the end, but in the middle, Watson is actually our protagonist. This is a Watson story. He gets to play being Sherlock Holmes, which I love. I love Dr. Watson. That's why I chose Watson as my last name for my writing nom de plume. And it's fun to, like, you can tell at this point, he's lived with Sherlock Holmes all these years. They've become so close. Sherlock Holmes has taught him all of these, methods for solving crimes, and he really puts them to the test. And he pretty much figures out the mystery on his own. And then Sherlock Holmes shows up and he's like, "Oh, you did so good, Watson. I mean, I figured this stuff out like 2 days after I heard the story, from the comfort of my living room while I was probably high as balls, but you know, I'm really glad that you figured it out after a few weeks out here on the moor." And Watson is like, "I can't believe I married you." But yeah, it's a really classic mystery. I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say this is my favorite Sherlock Holmes story, because I think that one still goes to The Speckled Band, but it's definitely up there for me. And it's also a novel-length story, so it's a little meatier than, like, the little short stories. So the Percy Jackson show came out at the beginning of this year, and I was really enthused for that, because I was a Percy Jackson kiddo. I took the "What Greek God is my parent" quiz like 57 times. I always got different answers. Usually I got Apollo, though. But I only ever read the original 5 novels. I never got into the Heroes of Olympus series. And so I said, I'm gonna read the Heroes of Olympus series. I read the first book last year, and I read the second 2 this year. Son of Neptune was pretty good, but my number 3 spot has to go to The Mark of Athena, because I love Annabeth, and I'm so happy she got a focal novel this time. And my homegirl has been going through it. We got mommy issues on full display in this book. The adventure she goes on is really cool. The villain is a really exciting one. I'm not going to give it away, but I mean, if you know that Annabeth is a daughter of Athena, you can probably guess who the villain is. No, it's not Medusa. Also, this is the first novel where Annabeth and Percy are together fully as a couple, not like getting together. They're not separated. This is like them as they've been together for a while and have kind of settled into the boyfriend-girlfriend role, and their dynamic is like really great, and it just reminded me so much why Percy and Annabeth are relationship goals. I love them so much. It reminded me why I love love. And also finally seeing the kids from the Roman camp and the Greek camp coming together and having to work together is also really fun. Haven't finished this series yet, but I'm really interested in where this conflict is gonna go. Also, my boy Nico is back. Yes. So, my number 1 and my number 2 were a really hard toss-up for me. I really didn't know how to put one over the other, because they were both really fantastic. They're both horror-esque novels, because I am a spooky bitch. But eventually I did have to put one over the other. So my number 2, I really love this book. I recommend it to pretty much everyone. This is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It's about this high society kind of, "Oh, I'm so pretty, I don't need to think about anything, my life is charmed" girl who, her cousin, her family is really worried about her cousin, and they send her to go check on her, like, see what's up, see why we've been getting fewer and fewer letters from her, and see why all her letters that we do get are, like, really weird. just go check on her. And she's like, fine, I guess so, because I do love my cousin. You don't understand how much I love a mean girl with depth. And she's not really mean, but she is kind of, like, bitchy. She's kind of like, I don't have time for you, and I will tell you so. She reminds me a lot of Cordelia from Buffy. Anyway, so she goes to this house where her cousin lives. The main girl and her cousin are Latina, and the cousin has married into this rich white family, and they're weird. They act weird, and their mansion is really creepy, and it's full of mold and mushrooms, and she's got to figure out what the hell is going on in this house. What is wrong with this family? Why is my cousin sick? What is going on here? And it's just really fantastic. The suspense, the intrigue, so good. So good. I could not put this book down. I loved it. And like I said, I recommend it to everyone who is like, I need a book to read. What can I read? This one, if you're into creepy stuff, this one is for you. If you're not into creepy stuff, this one is for you, but it will kind of creep you out. But it's really good. Really, really good. And my absolute favorite book that I read this year, I have a copy of it somewhere, but I lent it to my aunt, and she gave it back to me, and now I don't know what I did with it. But my favorite book of this year was 2020's The Year of the Witching. I bought this book a couple years ago because the cover looked interesting. Yes, I do judge books by covers, but in a good way. And I'm really glad that I bought it, because when I read it, oh my gosh, this book is so good. It's so dark, but like, not dark, like, edgy, like, it's got a bunch of violence and stuff in it. Like, it feels dark. Like, you can feel darkness surrounding the main character. She's this girl, she's mixed race, she's in this super puritanical society, where, like, young girls are married off to the old-ass, patriarchal, theocratic leader of the society, and, her mom died when giving birth to her, and she had this reputation of being a witch and dealing with the dark arts, and there are these 4 creepy witch goddesses that live in the woods, and the whole town lives in fear of them, but they also live in fear of, you know, the god that punishes them for, you know, even thinking sinful thoughts. It's all very religious repression, Salem witch trials type things, and so, like, 4 plagues start happening to this community, and the girl's like, I'm gonna figure out what's going on, I'm gonna save this community, even though they treated me like garbage my whole life, and I don't actually think they're all that worth saving, but I'm gonna figure it out, because my best friend lives in this community, and I love her, and my family is part of this community, and even though they kind of treat me like shit, I love them, I love my little sisters, I love my grandma who's mean to me, I love my grandpa who doesn't say much, but he's really sweet, I love my family and my bestie, and also, like, the son of the preacher who's, like, kind of weird, but also kind of nice, despite, you know, kind of being stuck up. He's nice, so he's worth saving. I'm gonna figure it out for them, not for the rest of these assholes, but I'm gonna figure out what's going on for them. And she's gotta contend with her own past, and her beliefs, and, you know, what if her entire worldview is wrong, which, you know, she kind of knows, like, yeah, I think a lot of the religious stuff that this guy spews is BS, and I think a lot of it is just to have an excuse to have sex with barely legal aged girls. But yeah, it's just really fantastic, and the aesthetics of the book are so good. This was such a good October read. I'm really glad I bought this book, and it is my favorite book of the year, so go check it out. There's supposedly a sequel in the works. I don't know for sure. Apparently the author suffered, like, some kind of personal tragedy in her life that put her off writing for a while. So the sequel is kind of on hold, but I'm hoping that we get a sequel, and I'm hoping that it'll be decent, but even if we don't, the first novel is a great standalone story. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. So I also watched a lot of TV shows this year. Some of them, not so great. Some of them were really, really great, and I'm going to try and stick mostly to newer shows, although I do want to talk about one that's kind of old-ish that I finally got into after years of people recommending it to me and being like, what, you haven't seen this show? Obviously, X-Men 97 was fantastic. I mean, Everybody loved this show. It feels like just like picking up where we left off, but like with like much better animation. I really like that Morph got more of an extended character arc this time. Morph kind of disappeared in like the first episode of the original show, and then they sort of came back for a couple episodes, but then they just disappeared again. It was really obvious that no one really cared about this character, and they just used them for like dramatic effect and then threw them away when they were done with them. But they brought him back this time and actually, you know, gave them some stuff to do and some character development, and that was really nice. And I really loved their friendship with Logan. Really interested to see where that goes if this bad boy gets a season 2, which God, I'm hoping it does. I love that we got into the Madeline Pryor storyline. We had Cable for a little bit. I could have used more Cable, to be honest. I love Cable. I also really love Mr. Sinister, and I hope they use him more in the future, but probably not. It's hard to know what to do with Nathaniel Essex, because he's just such a character like, mwahaha, I'm so evil. But then again, I also feel like, you know, that's a good opportunity to like do something with that character. Like, you know, there's not a lot of character definition there, so, you know, we can go a lot of different directions with a character like that. But I get it. I get why we tend to stick with like Magneto, because Magneto is so well defined and so beloved. And believe me, I love Magneto too. Top 10, one of my favorite villain characters. I mean, is he really a villain? He's always right. He's always right. Also, that scene in Magneto's Mindscape with him and Charles. Cherik is real. Cherik is real. That's all I'm saying. Cherik is real. They are husbands. I don't care about the Tal Shiar or whatever they're called. That's from Star Trek. Charles and Eric are married. They are old married men. I love them so much. Another really great show that I watched this year is called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. It came out a few years ago, and I'd heard I'd heard it was really good, but I hadn't gotten a chance to watch it, and so I finally sat down and watched it this year, and it was really fantastic. It's sort of a deconstruction of, like, you know, your typical sitcom, like, lazy doofus husband married to wife that's like probably too good for him, like not just because she's hot and he's like overweight and kind of dumpy, but because also she's usually like the one who does all the housework and also probably has a job, or at the very least is smart enough to do something meaningful with her life, but is stuck taking care of this dumb doofus that she doesn't get to really do much except for nag him to, like, I don't know, take out the trash or whatever. And it's got the girl who played Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek, which obviously I love. Look, I'm wearing a Rose Apothecary shirt. I didn't do that on purpose, I just really like this shirt. But yeah, she plays like a sitcom wife who becomes self-aware that she is in a sitcom. And the cinematography in this show is so interesting because have like your typical like 3x4 low definition grainy look to like a classic sitcom, like, you know, like Everyone Loves Raymond or something like that. But then when it's just the girl by herself in like her actual life, like not through the lens of Kevin and his funny sitcom world, it's like a dark drama. The characters kind of start becoming more self-aware about how Kevin is not a great guy. He's not like a fun, harmless dude. He's like actually abusive and horrible and awful and mean, and they actually don't like him. And it's just really great. I love it because I grew up watching the sitcoms that it's spoofing, and something never sat right with me about how they were also formulaic and low-key misogynist and just really excusing of, like, crappy men. And, you know, it's like, oh, boys will be boys. And then this show just completely turns that on its head. And it's really well acted, too. Like, the last episode and the last final scene between Kevin and the main character, you know, I can't talk about it, it's spoilers, but, like, it's a really good show, it's really worth watching, and it's a short show, it's a mini-series, sort of, kind of, I think it's got, like, 16 episodes. My point is, it's worth watching, and it won't take up too much of your time, so go and watch it, it's great. I don't know if this show came out this year, or last year, and I just finally got to it this summer, but I want to say it came out this year. But it is one in a long line of streaming shows that I get into and I really like, and then it gets canceled after its first season, which is really frustrating, and it makes... And, I wonder why people my age don't get into new shows. They just keep rewatching the old ones that they grew up with. Couldn't be because everything that we could potentially get into, like, it just gets canceled right away. But anyway, this show that I did get into, and it was good for its first season, was My Lady Jane. Now, this is based on a book series that I haven't read yet, but now that the show's been canceled, I'm definitely going to read the books just to see where they go. But yeah, it's basically historical fan fiction of Lady Jane Grey, the lady who was like Queen of England for 9 days before she was promptly beheaded and Queen Elizabeth I took over. But this is basically like, okay, but what if she didn't die though? And what if she was like really badass? And also, what if there were magical people in this world who could turn into animals who were like an oppressed minority class? And what if Mary Queen of Scots was really into being a femdom? Just stuff like that. The show is bonkers. It's so funny and so good, and I love it, and I'm so mad it got canceled. Oh my god. And the romance between Lady Jane Grey and the guy she's forced to get married to, I love me an arranged marriage story where it's like, oh, I hate you so much, but actually I love you. It's a tired cliche, but I love it. So much so that I'm kind of maybe sort of writing a book about it. What? Who said that? But yeah, My Lady Jane, it's on Amazon Prime. I would tell you to go watch it, but it's been canceled, so I would feel bad about misleading you into watching a really great show that got canceled in its prime. Prime, get it? But I mean, I guess if you don't care that a story kind of goes unfinished, you could watch My Lady Jane. I feel like the first season is fairly satisfying enough to where you could watch it as standalone. It does end on a cliffhanger though, like, oh, what's gonna happen to our young lovers? Is King Edward gonna get his throne back? Because in this one he doesn't die, he fakes his death. So if you don't mind that kind of thing, I would highly suggest watching it. It's very, very funny. Another newer show that I really got into, I know everyone is watching, so it's like, there's almost no point in talking about this one, but I have to bring it up, is Severance. It's got such an interesting premise. It's basically, okay, so most of us have full-time jobs. Basically, what if, when you went into work, your memory got erased, and you had a work persona who basically had no knowledge of your life outside of work. They basically just existed at work full time, like all the time. Like, imagine you could never leave work. That is the life of these people. And then when they leave the building to go home, their memory comes back and they live their life, but they don't remember what happened at work. You're basically living two different lives and you can't remember the other one. It's so interesting. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because this show is intense, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's really great. Adam Scott is in it. John Turturro is in it. That guy from like the first season of You, who worked in the bookstore, is in it. Christopher Walken plays a small-ish role. Patricia Arquette plays a really interesting villain. Yeah. If you haven't seen Severance yet, what the hell are you doing with your life? Go and friggin' watch Severance. Season 2 is coming out soon. You need to watch it. This is mandatory viewing. This is not a suggestion. This is an order. Another show that everyone is watching that I finally got to watch because I didn't have Showtime, so I couldn't watch this one for the longest time, but then they put the first season on Netflix, and then I finally just decided to shell out to include Showtime with like my Paramount Plus package. Is Yellow Jackets. Yellow Jackets is also another show that you can't talk about too much without giving away spoilers. But basically, the premise is, it takes place into, like, two different timelines in the present day and in the, like, 80s, 90s era. It's about these girls who are on their high school soccer team, and they make it to nationals, and they're gonna take a plane to nationals, but then the plane crashes in the wilderness, and they have to survive out there. And this is like if the show Lost was horror instead of like sci-fi, basically. Sci-fi mystery. This show is like almost straight up horror. They have to resort to very dire means to survive. I'm sure you can probably guess what they have to do, but I don't want to give it away in case you can't guess. It also has scenes that are set in the current day where the adult women who survived and made it back to civilization are dealing with the trauma of living with what they did when they were teenagers. But yeah, the aesthetics of the show are so weird. If you're into like that Mike Flanagan style horror, I would say that you would probably like this show a lot. This show's got a lot of star power. Melanie Lynskey, Christina Ricci, Sophie Thatcher, who is like kind of a hot younger star right now, is in it. She plays one of the girls in the flashback scenes. Ella Purnell is in it. It's really good. It's really good. And if you haven't seen Yellow Jackets yet, you need to get on the bandwagon, because season 3 is coming out Valentine's Day, I think. So yeah, Severance and Yellow Jackets, mandatory viewing. So those are the newer shows I got into. I also, finally, after 12 years, this year, I finally watched Gravity Falls. Yes, I know. It had nothing to do with the Book of Bill coming out. I swear, I didn't even know about it. After so many people recommended me this show and saying, oh my god, you have to see Gravity Falls. I can't believe you never watched Gravity Falls as a kid. What are you doing? I finally watched it, and I really appreciated it as an adult in a way that I don't think I would have appreciated as a kid. But yeah, it's really great. It really is Twin Peaks for teenagers. And for all you people out there who thirst over Grunkle Stan, I judged you, but after watching the show, I get it. I understand. I understand now. I still don't get wanting to fuck a triangle, but, you do you, I guess. The villain is really fun. Bill Cipher is a fun villain. Even if his motivation is a little dumb, like, oh, I just want chaos. I just want my weird Mageddon to happen. I don't know, I haven't read Book of Bill, so maybe there's more motivation there. But, you know, for the short run that it has a lot of really great, developed, realized characters. This show almost feels like it was too good for the Disney Channel, or Disney XD, or wherever it played. It's a really high caliber show. If you were an adult when it came out, or older when it came out, and you never gave it a chance, give it a chance, because it's really good. And finally, I want to get into music. This one isn't really going to be like a ranked list. I'm just kind of basing this off of my Spotify Wrapped, which is like reading a personalized DSM-5. It's every year I take psychic damage. I am really proud to say, though, I got a close friend of mine into Chapel Roan. I introduced her to Chapel Roan, and now she's one of her favorite artists. But yeah, for like the 4th year running, my top artist was Taylor Swift. I swear to God, I'm not like a Swiftie or anything. I've never wanted to go to the Eras tour. I don't have any Taylor Swift merch. Okay, that's not true. I have the sweater from the Cardigan music video, but that was a gift. Somebody gave it to me because she bought it for herself, and she decided she didn't like it, and she just gave it to me, and I'm not going to turn down a free sweater. That's the only Taylor Swift merch I own. I did not actively seek it out, or ask for it, or buy it with my own money. That's it. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not. So my top song of the year was Fortnite by Taylor Swift, featuring Post Malone. It was a Taylor Swift and Post Malone joint effort, okay? And none of the other ones in my top 10 were Taylor Swift, so there's that. Another song that I listened to, like, on repeat was Talk Too Much by Renee Rapp. I got really into Renee Rapp this year. This was the year of Renee Rapp. I don't know if it was the Mean Girls movie or what, but I just got really into her. I think probably starting to watch The Sex Lives of College Girls helped, which she's not on that show anymore, but, she introduced me to Renee Rapp, and then I was like, oh, Leighton from Sex Lives of College Girls makes music too? Let me listen. oh wow, this is pretty good. Good Luck Babe and Red Wine Supernova were in my top 10. Red Wine Supernova is my favorite Chappell Roan song. Good Luck Babe probably gives me the most feels of all her music. You know what? It was Sapphic Summer, okay? Everybody was in their feels when listening to Good Luck Babe, okay? We all had that moment in high school. Sabrina Carpenter was a big one. I listened to Espresso a lot. Like, that one was a good, like, cruising in my car, feeling myself type song. Like, you know, most of the time, I feel like an engorged water rat, but when I listen to Espresso, suddenly I'm a hot girl. So yeah, 2024 was kind of a integral year for me. I got a job. I lost that job. I got a new job. And so far, I'm enjoying myself. I really hope I don't get fired in like 2 months and have to like eat my words. I feel like I got more out of my shell. I finally got on antidepressants. Yeah, the rumors are true. They really do work. I actually got a real desk now to work on. It's a miracle. Y'all don't understand. I used to work with my laptop on top of like a TV tray that was like this big. It was the worst. Y'all wonder why I never got videos out. It's because I had nowhere to work. Now I don't get videos out because I have a full-time job. But yeah, I'm not gonna say this was the best year of my life. I've had some blows. But, I've also had a few good moments. Like I said, I got to meet one of my favorite actors ever, which was something I really wanted to do because he is in his 70s now, and he could croak any day. But, yeah, I got to meet Jeffrey Combs, and he's super adorable, and he is very short in real life. I also got to meet the guy, Dominic Keating, the guy who played Malcolm Reed in Star Trek Enterprise. He called me darling. It was a really neat experience. This was at my first con that I ever got to go to. Because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't generally get to go to cons because they cost a lot of money, and you have to either drive or fly, and usually I don't have the time or the resources, but I finally got to go to a con, and it was really awesome, and like I said, I got to meet 2 really great actors and see a bunch more. I did not have the courage to go up and talk to Doug Jones, or Brent Spiner, or Ethan Peck, or any of the guys from Lower Decks, or John Delancey, but I admired you all from afar. That sounds really weird. I also sprained my ankle this year. That was fun. That was a fun June. I met people. I lost people. It's been a year, for sure. And I know I haven't been super active on here. And I appreciate you all for bearing with me. I will try to make more of an effort to create, because I feel bad when I'm not creating. I am a creator, and when I'm not creating, that really sucks. I will say that YouTube is not my only creative endeavor. I am working on my second book. This is a couple of years in the making at this point. Because I started writing this one shortly after Courting Danger came out, and that was, I think, August of 2022. So it's now 2025. I really want to try and go the traditional publishing route with this one instead of going straight to Amazon. I feel like maybe this one is good enough to get published traditionally. It's probably not. But I'm gonna try. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So that's what's going on with me. That was my 2024. I hope your 2024 went well, and I hope your 2025 is even better. Thank you for watching.